Ladies, gentlemen, crypto degenerates, Roy Blackstone is here. So I am unfortunately taking this video not at my home, not in the home studio. So I apologize for the audio quality, and I'm also not going to be able to have a video camera this week because of the way the camera works on this laptop. I'm traveling right now, so I can't really go back to that studio and make the good quality that you guys have come to know and love, but I still wanted to make an update video going over just what has been happening in the markets the past week, as well as some pieces of news. So it's going to be a little bit of a smaller update, but I still wanted to make the video. So yeah, here we are. So basically, Bitcoin has been in this weird range right over here since the last week or so. We obviously were hitting the resistance here, and now we're kind of bearish. I did have longs. I had long set up since 10K, and I wanted to build a position, but what I was expecting was a sharp drop and then a rebound, and the quick rebound never really happened. And so unfortunately, that means to me that just like I was more bullish the longer we consolidated at 10K, I'm more bearish the longer we consolidate down here at these levels. And so because we're staying so long down here, because we're not getting that V bottom that I was looking for, that quick spring, I'm becoming more and more bearish slowly over time. So I've bought a little bit of spot Bitcoin, but I did close out my futures positions. So yeah, we're closed. So we bought at 10K. We closed out, I think, somewhere around like 8.3. So we got wrecked there. But thankfully, we're only on 2x leverage. So nothing ventured, nothing gained there. But yeah, so far I have no real leverage positions aside from the spot Bitcoin that I bought, which obviously is 1x leverage. So yeah, I bought a little bit. I think $8,000 is a pretty good place to buy Bitcoin. I usually tell everyone right now, anything under $10,000 is a decent buy, and anything above 10K, you're probably not going to be wanting to buy. So 8K for me is a good place to buy some spot Bitcoin. So I bought some. It's hard to know where really we're going to be going. I took these two lines from Cred. So this is his TA. So his TA says that we're probably going to be hitting resistance here, which we did, and then we're probably going to be looking around 7.5 for the 7.5 region for any signs of a bounce, any signs of bullish movement there. So I have bids on the Deribit account set up here around 7.4. So hopefully we do hit those levels, and hopefully we don't just like blast off here, which would suck because then I would not have a position, which is unfortunate. So yeah, so definitely, I think in general we're probably looking more towards 7.4, and possibly even below. I don't really want to give out any kind of predictions that are lower than this, because then you just really start seeming like a bear tard. any lower below like 7.5, I think that's probably going to be enough, but who knows? Like I said, it always pays to be hedged. So what I'm going to do is, my plan moving forward is buy futures contracts at 7.5, scale into those at a little bit better price than where we scaled in at 10K. 10K was perhaps a little bit too high. 7.5 I think sounds great to start buying futures contracts. And then obviously from 8K I've been buying spot Bitcoin. 7,000 I'll probably buy some more spot Bitcoin if we go that low. 7.5 is a good place to buy more spot Bitcoin, and we'll see. Craig said something very interesting on his stream, so if you haven't watched his video, go watch it. He just released one about, I think, a week or two ago. And he was basically saying that this could possibly be the start of a new trend forming for Bitcoin. So we had a lot of consolidation, and then the breakdown means that this could be the start of a new trend. And so if this is a new trend, this could, in theory, be the start of a bearish trend. And so this is not a place you really want to be buying right now, in terms of just buying with a shitload of leverage and trying to make a whole bunch of gains right away. That's probably not where you want to be. It's probably a little bit riskier than you would like if that's the case. So all eyes on 7.5. I think that's where most traders are looking at. This lines up a lot with the supports over here, or the resistance over here. And as well, I did want to look at the weekly on the Bitcoin chart, because it looks pretty tragic, pretty horrendous. Of course, so we're down here. So definitely, I think what we could do is we could get this 7.5 tap, 7.4 tap, and then we could go back up, and then we could see a retest of 8.3 and see whether we're actually still in this bull market or not. Personally, I think obviously you guys know my long-term opinion on this. I do think that this is still bull market, but again, we can't just be bullish just for the sake of being bullish. We have to be cognizant of reality. And the reality is that we went all the way from 14K all the way down to 8K now. And so we have to be very cognizant of that. So we have to realize that at a certain point, you can't just continue to be bullish all the way down. So right now, I'm pretty neutral. Again, I'm buying spot Bitcoin, but I'm not in the leverage position. I want to get into a small 2x leverage down at 7.5, and then we will play that out and see where we go. So that's where I'm at with that. Chainlink is super, super surprising, actually. I did not expect this kind of move from Chainlink. I bought down here, thankfully, around 15K. So I have bought the mid-term bottom or short-term bottom for Chainlink quite a number of times, which is funny enough. But I sold around, I believe, like right here. Yes, I sold. So I have two different stacks. I have a long-term Chainlink stack, which I'm going to sell around $10 US pair, and then I have a swing stack that I select to swing. So this swing stack I sold this one at 24K sat, and then I made a tweet, and then like right after that tweet we had this mega candle which just crushed, which was insane. So as far as levels are concerned, the reason I sold, let me see if I can get a horizontal line here. So the reason I sold is just looking at the daily, even the weekly. We'll zoom out and look at the weekly later. I couldn't really find any kind of resistance here beyond this. So if this was broken, I just see this going up all the way and retesting even like 40K, which is insane. So if that happens, hopefully it does happen. Like I said, I have my long-term stack, so I mean, I'm not going to complain making money. But yeah, what I would like to see is maybe even a little bit of a cool off. So I don't know where this is going to stop, but it'll obviously, I think it'll stop eventually, maybe up here, maybe around 30K. So maybe it'll do something like this, and then it'll refuel here. And unfortunately for me, this is where I sold. So this will be like almost like I made no trade here, but I will probably rebuy here if this happens, like a retest. And then we'll probably continue going up. Short term, mid term, and long term, pretty bullish on Chainlink. So that's definitely where I am looking to place any kind of bids and buys. And who knows where the end of this run is. Honestly, this is just one of the best performing assets of 2018, 2019. It continues to perform. Chainlink continues to impress. So yeah, I think Sergey and the team have stopped dumping all their tokens. So there's nothing really else in the way for Chainlink to continue its rise and its ascension. So we'll see. Again, the reason I sold my swing stack was just, if you look at this, the daily, obviously, there's really no other level where you would set a logical sell. And then the weekly, it also looked like a decent place to put a logical sell. And so we went above and beyond that. So that's obviously a great thing to see if you're a long-term holder. And so we'll see where we will see where we go in the next week or so. I think this is going to resolve. We're going to know whether this is just going to continue blasting off, very similar to what Ravencoin did a few months ago, or if this is going to have some kind of retest, which I think is going to be healthy. If we have a healthy retest down to 24, 25K, obviously good for me so that I can get back in on my swing stack, maybe even make a little bit of profit there with the difference, but we'll see. So as far as news is concerned this week, EOS maker Block 1 settles with SEC over unregistered securities sale. All right, so let's get into this one. This is a short article here. EOS maker Block 1 must pay $24 million in penalties for conducting an unregistered securities sale. The SEC announced Monday evening. I'm not going to read all that. The SEC said in a press release that Block 1 raised the equivalent of several $1 billion over a one-year period in an unregistered ICO, initial coin offering. A total of $4.1 billion was raised, and you guys know this if you watched the EOS video that I released. If you didn't, go watch it. It's pretty good. Go over some of EOS's raise and all of that. Block 1 agreed to settle the charges according to the SEC. The fine amounts to 0.58% of the initial raise. Notably, the press release highlighted that Block 1's token sale began shortly before the SEC released its Dow report, but continued for nearly a year after the report's publication. The company did not secure an exemption from securities registration requirements and did not otherwise register the sale, the SEC said. So in its own press release, Block 1 said that the settlement only applies to the sale of the original ERC20 tokens it sold. EOS holders swapped to their Ethereum-based tokens with the proper EOS tokens when the network first went live, blah, 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 blah. So we're not going to read the rest of this. So basically, the gestalt of this is EOS was, yeah, it definitely was the largest ICO in history. I think Telegram network raised $1 billion. I don't know how much Kick raised their token. Was it Kick? I don't remember. There was some token where they raised a few billion on their end, but EOS was the biggest one, and they raised 4 billion. And EOS, we can look at this as basically the leader in this sense for the market. We will see how the SEC treats EOS, and we have seen how they have treated EOS. They've slapped a nice, pretty little fine on them, $24 million, which is basically nothing. I mean, that's like chump change. That's like a pittance. And so this happens all the time in traditional finance markets, where there will be a bank, and the bank will do some kind of fraud or some kind of scam, where they'll make billions and billions and billions of dollars, and then the SEC or whoever will, FINRA, whoever will find them, and the bank will end up paying, I don't know, let's say $200 million on however many billions of dollars they made. And this happens all the freaking time, guys. So the fact that EOS is getting fined like this is actually rather bullish for anyone looking to do an ICO. It means that you have to get to the level of EOS. You have to raise billions of dollars before the SEC even bothers to look at you. And if they do bother to look at you, they're only going to slap you on the wrist with a very, very small fine. So this is one of those things where it's just incentivizing the crime almost, where it's incentivizing you to not even bother doing your due diligence if you're one of these teams who wants to raise money, and just go ahead and do your ICO. No one cares. No one's going to come after you. And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. So get ready for more ICOs. In my opinion, I think one of the reasons why ICOs have cooled off recently for so long has been because we have not really known we've had a lot of regulatory uncertainty. So that's been the phrase that people have thrown around. And so now we have a lot more regulatory certainty. The regulatory certainty is go raise as much money as you want. You're probably not going to get caught by anyone. And even if you get caught by someone, you're not going to have to pay very much at all in the way of fines. And that's just the world we live in. So bullish for ICOs, I suppose. Bullish for the future of ICOs. I think this is definitely going to be one of the turning points, the fulcrum of deciding, of teams and tech offerings deciding whether they want to do ICOs or not. They're going to look at the story and they're going to make a decision off of it. And I think most people are going to decide, yes, we want to push forward with an ICO. And this is going to stimulate a lot more ICOs in the future. So definitely one of the interesting pieces of information here. And this other article I wanted to read, because I know we just finished talking about Bitcoin being super, super bearish for the short term, and it looks bad and it looks weak. And I did want to give you guys a little bit of perspective. So I wanted to read this one. So headline is, Bitcoin is 2019's best performing asset even after the recent price downturn. And you guys know this, so we're going to read this. The takeaway. Bitcoin prices have more than doubled in 2019, far outpacing the 31% return for U.S. stocks, which Goldman Sachs deems the best performing asset class year to date. Outsized returns could attract interest from big investors in the yield-starved traditional financial markets. Executives at data firm Masari say Bitcoin prices, currently around $8,200, could rally to a new high in the year's remaining months, topping the $13,000 level reached in June. Investors will be hard-pressed to name a better performing asset class so far in 2019 than Bitcoin. Gold up 17% since December 31st. Stocks, the S&P's 500 index returned 21%. Bonds, the 10-year U.S. Treasury bond is yielding just 1.6%, close to historic lows. And Bitcoin is up 114% on the year. So keep this in mind, guys. Even though we have all of this bearish momentum and bearish information, and everything's back didn't really do as what we perhaps hoped for in the short term, we have to keep in mind Bitcoin did go from $3,000 all the way up to where we're at now, $8,000 and some change. So I don't think this is such a bad deal at the end of the day. If you are a decent, if you just held Bitcoin from the beginning of the year, you're up. So there's not really such a huge downside. Most of the people who bought in from a time perspective were people who didn't buy in above, say, 10K or so, because we only spent a few weeks above those levels back in 2017. So it's just most people are buying in Bitcoin, I would say, around these levels and around even lower levels. So it's just something to keep in mind, guys. don't panic, don't worry. This isn't the end of Bitcoin. This isn't some weird echo bubble. I know that's the latest meme. That's no echo bubble. That's not happening. It's not some crazy, Bogdanov is making the call to dump it or whatever. This is just the way Bitcoin does its thing. It's a super volatile asset, but I think in the long term, if you hold Bitcoin and you don't overtrade, which is what I do, I just don't overtrade. I trade a little bit, so I'll trade a little bit for the channel, but personally, 90% of my holdings are just long-term holdings because I know that if I try and trade too much, then I'll just get completely wrecked. So it's just my own personal philosophy, and I made a thread on this the other day, and I think you guys should definitely, if you are losing money in this market, you shouldn't be. Maybe you are over trading. You really shouldn't be losing money in this market. You shouldn't be losing money in a market where the prime asset has gone up 114% in the year. And also for the future, I think this means you shouldn't worry too much about, oh, what's going to happen in the future? Are we going to go to zero? Blah blah blah. I don't think it's going to happen. Again, look historically, look what's happening. More and more companies are accepting Bitcoin every single day. We're getting backed. We're getting all these institutional methods of getting Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin is getting more adoption. So the more adoption is definitely going to increase the price in the long term. So keep that in mind, guys. I just wanted to give you and leave you with this little piece of hopium, or whatever you want to call it, positivity, positive vibes coming your way from Blackstone here in Indonesia. So as far as next week's video, I will be back in Asia, or back in Bangkok rather, for the next video. So I will have the good microphones and setup again. So get ready for that, guys. I just wanted to make this quick update video. I'll be dropping this. Yeah, I'll be dropping this as the regularly scheduled as the Market Watch video. So hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more. Like the video if you liked it, and I will see you guys next time.